All righty, everybody. We're back on another episode of FORTIUS podcast. Today we've got Sergej Litvinov Jr. Pretty stoked to have you here, man. How's it going?
Good. A very interesting time now for all of us.
I don't. I think it's hard to say. It's definitely like the most interesting time, like certainly in our lives, right? But like, I honestly, I can't think of anything that's even remotely close to this since like the last World War. You know what I mean? Where like
Yeah,
pretty much
yeah,
everywhere on the planet had to like stop. You know what I mean?
yeah,
This is crazy.
yeah. Something really new. But the interesting thing is how we can find new ways to train or to think, and it's. I think the people doing good now. I mean, when you look the social media
Yeah,
and especially my group too. Our people are very creative,
yeah.
and I mean, I have a girl. She built a throwing place in her garden.
Yeah. Does she
Just
have a
with
net? I think I saw that one.
yeah. They
Yeah.
did a net, and I mean, she didn't throw a real hammer. It's a medicine ball, but I mean, interesting time.
So how are you managing like so are you in Germany or
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
What city?
Leverkusen. It's
Oh, right. Yeah,
near,
yeah.
yeah,
Right.
near Cologne. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that place is amazing. Um so are you complete quarantine there, like not allowed outside at all unless it's for, groceries or something?
Yeah, especially in our city, we have a law. It's prohibited to go outside for more than one person.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, in the other cities in Germany, you can go with two persons, and normally it will be okay to train and one athlete in, I don't know, just in a park or something.
Yeah.
But in our city, it's not possible.
Okay. So how like I've seen some stuff on your Litvinov training group. Um like what are some things that you're managing or adapting to still be able to coach during this?
Um, First of all, when it started, we didn't know that it will be so hard.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like nobody knew what will happen, and first we was trying to go somewhere. There was a city 100 kilometers away. We trained there a little bit. Then it was closed. Then we was going to some wood to throwing, and after the rules changed and we have to stop this whole thing, and now it's just I just speak to my athletes. I try to find a way that they can still doing sports, and the problem is not everybody is able to turn, or I mean able to throw, and
Yeah.
if there's a possibility, it's always good, but
Yeah.
it's really personal thing now. It's like some individual thing. Some people have a garden or something. The other people like have no other way.
Do you have anyone that is anyone still able to throw hammer or is it all?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's a girl. She is living 100 kilometers away in another city, and she is throwing with her dad in the wood
Yeah.
where nobody is, and yeah, she's actually training. Yeah,
So
almost
not
normal.
yeah, yeah, almost nowhere. Not much has changed.
Yeah,
So I mean, yeah, that's pretty cool. I like to make the joke with all this like, quarantine stuff. Like, I mean, this is normal for hammer throwers. You know what I mean? Like, oh no,
yeah.
Um,
You I never knew that my normal life is like a quarantine, you know.
Yeah. I see that meme several times, and it still cracks me up every time. It's like
Yeah,
it's so true.
but the thing is, the last year my life changed very much, and I was starting coaching, and the last year my life is not like a quarantine, you know.
Yeah,
I was like always out, always doing coaching and doing stuff, and but like a professional athlete, I was like training maybe, I don't know, 3 to 5 hours a day, and then doing actually nothing. I
yeah,
mean, yeah, just recover. And I mean, yeah, I had hobbies, I had things that I love to do, but you cannot do
yeah.
active
Hobbies.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
And now for me, this quarantine was very, very hard, because I was like, I don't know, I stand up in the morning and I don't know what to do. I want to
yeah,
train, I want to coach, I want to go do something,
yeah.
and nothing is possible.
Have you picked up anything else? Like, are you reading more, or like, I don't know.
You know, yeah, yeah. Now I do so much uh, weird stuff.
Yeah,
I don't know. Never thought I was doing this. I, I think I watch everything in Netflix, you know, uh, and all the documentaries about crimes and something. I know how to.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, if I kill somebody, I know how
I
to.
saw a meme.
Yeah.
I saw a meme yesterday, and it was like, "Today I finished Netflix."
Yeah, it's almost, it's really, I think it's really possible in 1 month if you if
My
you try
goodness.
it. Yeah.
All right, man. So, of course, everyone knows your dad, and track and field still in general, because let's be honest, like he's a legend in the entire sport, let alone throwing and hammer. Um, so when did you, like, what age were you when you started throwing, and kind of how did that, like, did you start doing other things, or was it straight to hammer? What happened there?
Yeah, I was starting to do judo at when I was 11.
Oh, nice.
I was just studying at myself. My dad had nothing to do with this,
Yeah,
and he was far away from sports at that time, because he was quitting his career, and he is actually was saying, I don't wanna think about this. But after a while, I realized that I lose too much in my sports, and I was coming to my dad and saying, "You're Olympic champion. Why you're not helping me? I need
yeah.
help." And he started to help. He was like changing his job. He started to work in the night, and
What was he doing, like, before he got back into
yeah,
athletics?
a lot of stuff, nothing
Yeah,
special. But when he changed his job. He was doing in a factory. He was normally factory worker
yeah,
and doing stuff in the night, because he said you need another club, judo club, where better athletes are and coaches. And we this club was something like 2 hours away with a car,
hmm,
and he was driving me every day, 2 hours there, then we was training, then back, and in the night he was working, and really, really fast I was getting very good, because he did my physical stuff,
okay.
and the club did the whole judo stuff. I mean, the whole fighting stuff. And
So he did basically, like, kind of your physical conditioning while you were still participating in judo.
yeah, he did. Yeah, and actually he was so good that a lot of people from the club came once a week to us,
Yeah.
to our garden to train with us. And I think just in 1 year he was helping me. I became German champion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I was qualified for European champs in judo, and then I was like, it was summer or some September. Yeah, I remember it was one day after 9/11. It was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was coming to my dad and saying, let's try a hammer throw. And he said, what?
Did he say why?
You're like, I was, my weight was 55 kilograms.
Yeah.
And
Wait, how old were you?
I was almost 16.
Almost 16. So you started pretty late, man. You start like, I mean, that's still earlier than most American kids, but
but not so early like the others.
Yeah.
But I the last year I was thinking a lot about this, and I think judo was a really good start for me, because when I coach now the kids, and when they come to me at 16 and never did something like this before,
yeah,
it's so much such a big difference, because I was starting at almost 16, and I started to 100%. I started with 100%. Not I didn't. I knew my body. I know how to work. I know how to be an athlete, and I did. I don't know. I did gymnastic stuff and everything before hammer throw.
Yeah, I think like, I mean, so, you know, when we have kids, so Chris and I, we've got 2, right? And it's like, well, are they going to be hammer throwers? Like, I'm not going to tell them to be. I'm honestly not even going to encourage it. But if they come to me and say, Dad, I want to learn hammer, I'm going to say, okay, let's see where this goes, right? But like, what I would and what I am going to encourage is kind of more what we think like over this time, kind of movement-based stuff. So judo is absolutely one of them, which is so cool. Judo, dance, gymnastics. Yeah. And there's probably like a few others that you could maybe a lot of out there, but like a lot of those things from a younger age to really build that base of essentially just kinesthetic awareness is what you're really looking for there, and then kind of specialize more as you get into the higher teenage years.
Yes, some boys. I have a boy. He did nothing before, just playing football, but I mean soccer, but not really professional, just for fun. But he's like 193 centimeters, 16 years old, and 110 kilo. Big guy, and but you look at him and think he is not really athletic, But if you say to him, walk on hands, and he can do this, or I don't know, do salto or something like this, and he do this, because when you ask him what you did in your childhood, he was always with friends and doing, I don't know, he didn't know he do sports or gymnastics, but he was doing like I grew up. I grew up outside,
like out of the city.
Yeah, we was in the city, but it was Russia, and we was on, I don't know, on big houses. We was climbing, and
and doing, just playing outside,
doing crazy stuff, but like children do, But and then
which is funny you say that, because like my daughter, well, the oldest one is in 2nd grade, and they're not in school right now, but probably the last week, 2 weeks, like our kids have like never been dirtier. They're just outside all the time, and playing and getting dirty. And, you know, there's a few days where just like, no, wipe your feet. And just like, you know what? Like, screw it, man. Like, this is good.
Yeah.
Feet all dirty, dirt all in the nails. They look like hooligans, but like, the kids having
Yeah.
fun.
I don't know what changed, you know, because I asked my mother what changed in the world that we don't leave our children go outside alone, because you know I was alone since in outside since I am 6. My mom said go outside, and in the evening I was coming back, something
Yeah.
like this. When I was 6, and she said, "Oh, it was other time." I said it was in the 90s in Russia. You
Yeah.
know, there was killing people every day. You know,
Yeah.
and what other time? You know, and now I think
what city did you grow up in at that time?
in Rostov-on-Don. It's like near Ukraine,
Near Ukraine. Okay.
and it was in that time it was a bad city. Yeah, but I mean, what we was talking about sports and what helps after. There's a big um, opportunities. I mean, it's not just sports, you know. It's just moving, and
Yeah.
yeah,
I think that's the number one thing, and maybe sometimes it can be overcomplicated. Which honestly, like, you can kind of say, I'll use hammer as an example, right? Like, you can make that event super, super complicated with a book this big about how to do it, but ultimately, like, if you strip everything away, what's most important is what? Moving. And I
yeah,
think that's the same thing with, like, how do you create, or how do you promote the best athlete that you can be? Just move. And
yeah,
move, you know what I mean? Like, from a younger age, of course, but, you know, if you missed out on that, then, you know, the game's not over. You can still do it now. But I think those are kind of good things to think about.
yeah. But uh, I think a lot the last year because I have to rethink all my knowledge, because when you are an athlete, then I think you don't have to think very wide, you know.
Because of a coach.
Yeah, because of the coach, and because you're when you're a professional athlete, you don't have to do wide training stuff. I mean, if you're getting older, it's going tighter and tighter, you know. I mean, at the end you're doing maybe the same things.
Yes.
And yeah, and now I think a lot, and I did the last maybe 8-10 years not a lot of different things, but when I start now to prove something with other kids, like doing with them gymnastic stuff, or I don't know, jumping, or I understand, oh, I'm so good. And never testing this in the last 10 years, or trying to get this better or something. It's
So basically,
interesting.
like, you're kind of coaching them maybe in a way that you were either coached or trained, but now you're being asked why, and so you're having to rethink the why that you were doing it.
Yeah. I just, because I can coach them like I train.
Right.
It's stupid, I think. Now I have to I think I have to rebuild my knowledge, because I mean, especially with kids, it's really hard work with kids, because they have really different starts, different opportunities, and a lot of stuff. And in the last year I was studying so much, because I understand that it will be very, very hard if I wanna getting them
What's
very
your
far.
what's kind of like your takeaway? What's your biggest takeaway in the last year. So you're thinking more specifically like about that kind of teenage age group with things that you're
Yeah.
rethinking. So what is it you're finding?
I found that a lot of kids just want a social movement, you know, first of all. Then the whole physical stuff, when you're doing this whole social movement, it's always a group, you know, but you also have to work with them individually, not like training, the whole same training for all, you know.
Yeah.
And here it starts very difficult because some girls like are ashamed to do something, you know, because of the others, and a lot of stuff like this. And you try to find the it's almost, I find out it's all psychological stuff, how to talk, how to do you want to push this athlete or not, or getting let him time, or, you know, it's a lot
like
of
figure it out for themselves, or
yeah.
kind of give them a little bit more of a push, essentially.
Yeah. And I think it's something like compared to playing poker, you know. You're as a coach, you're like playing poker. You can go in few sets like all in and trying to get the whole money, you know, very fast.
Yeah.
Or you're being clever and say it's long game, you know, and you're like trying not to getting fast. You're just playing very easy without risk, you know. And this is for an athlete very hard, because an athlete is acting not
And
like.
I think also too, like athletes, and I don't know if it's really fair, and I certainly don't judge it, but I feel like athletes now, in like today's generation, they want, for the most part, they want things now, and like they want the answer now. So if I come to you and you're going to teach me hammer, I need to be throwing really far right now. And you know, and I don't know. I mean, maybe it was like that, you know, earlier than my generation too. It's just now there's a lot more. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, but basically, like, I mean, there's studies out there about like immediate gratification being necessary in this generation because there's more. There's just more screens. There's more things that are available to us, and I think that's something that affects how people teach and coach. I don't know if it's being talked about, but I know I think about it. It sounds like you probably do a little bit as well.
Yeah. You know, I think it's good that people, athletes, want to have everything now. It's not it's not a big problem. Then this is why a coach is important, you know. Because when I see an athlete that is very focused and want everything now, I know that when I'm good, I can make him understand that it's a long way, but he will keep this keep this energy, like this dragon inside, you know.
Yeah.
And he will like always, because my dad was saying to me, he never will push somebody.
Yes.
Never. He said, Sergej, never push somebody, because if he wanna be the best, the only thing a coach should do is just hold. It's holding back.
Yeah.
It's the only way in professional sports this connection is working very well. Because if you push somebody the whole time, he will not able to do this very properly. The whole training process will be just for, I don't know, if you write this on the book, it will be, you see the whole numbers and you see, oh, it's a lot of work, but mentally it will be not like this. And the end, this is the difference of, I don't know, 6 meters or maybe more. I don't know. It's you see some people and they're throwing 75 and the others 82, and you see the training and it's almost the same, you know.
Yeah.
It's almost
so what's the
same.
difference, right?
yeah the difference is always more in this mental thing, and this idea that you need time to develop, and you need another mentality of working now, you know. Now if you want to have result now, you're not able to work very properly now. I mean, focused. You cannot be this focused, you know.
Right.
Because you're emotional. You're now emotional. You want to now something to prove. And my dad was changing this focus in our group. Not always, not everybody understood this, but who did was very good. That he said, your motivation should be not this meters that comes out. Your motivation should be the process. In this process, when you're throwing and you like finding, you throw and then you're finding a new feeling or something, and then you're going next throw and then you're like, oh, I did this again. How good is that? And then, oh, I want to try this, I want to try that. And it's a game. He said, if you're in the game, you don't care how far it flies. You don't care, because and he was always laughing at people who throwing like, I don't know, in the preparation season, like 15, 20 throws, because you cannot play this game with 15, 20 throws, you know. If 15, 20 throws, you start this game and it's end. You're like, you didn't start it. I have some funny things with German guys. We was talking about this and they didn't understand what I mean. Why you need so much throwing? And then we start,
like so much volume of throws.
Yeah. And we start, and I teach them to play this game. And when they start to play this game, they like, they don't listen to the coach anymore because there's so much inside. And then you said, okay, you did 40 throws. He said, look, let me alone. I need to throw more. And then 60 throws, 70 throws, and they didn't really realize that they did so much, because they're like so focused and so in this game. And
so the idea for that is what?
The idea of playing this game, or what?
The game being so. Am I understanding like the game being like taking a lot of those throws? So if you're talking about 40, 50, 60 throws, I don't like, this is not every session, but I'm sure sometimes this is something that's required. But what is it that you're after, or what's the idea behind taking that many, right? So you're saying like you can't really hear the coach at that time, you're kind of in yourself.
You know, this is a question about priorities, you know.
Okay.
If you have now, if you can grow up technically very, very high, I mean, you're now not so good now, then your proper priority should be the throwing thing, you know. And then you maybe should playing this game very properly and very long, you know, because it's your priority. But if you like Koji Morofushi, you know,
Yeah.
who like over 30, something like this, who you can wake him up at 2 a.m. and he will do a great throw, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then you don't need to play this game so long. And so I am pretty sure he was playing, but he didn't need this after a while, you know. And then
So
he can concentrate on other things.
right. So like, you know, the major, like actually
Yeah.
performing. So then the game is on a session by session basis, or are you
Yeah.
talking long term?
Yeah, this game never ends.
Right.
Because this game never ends. When you do this properly, it's not ending with the training session, because if you really in this, you're coming home and think, oh, what I did today, and okay, the entry, then this stuff, and you always think about, because it's for you, it's interesting.
Yes.
It's not something you think, oh, I have to do this. It's just in your brain, because I mean, my dad was saying it's a whole world. It's more interesting than results, competitions, and books, films, and a lot of stuff. And he said, if you understand this and really find the law for this game, you will be able to go to another level, because you will feeling so much more than others do.
And see, for me, like what you're talking about is much more philosophy than I don't know, than
I think
periodization of
it's
the sports. Like it should. So for me, it should be there should be a healthy mix, right? Because I think to ultimately be the best sword that you can be, you need to have a lot of the game in you. You need to play that game. But also, you know what I mean? If you are a post collegiate thrower and someone who's internationally, you know what I mean, ranked, then you need to go after that performance. But if you're a, 44-year-old male who throws the 7K 42 meters, then that's the game is more than adequate, right? Because you should still, there's nothing wrong with that. It's amazing, it's beautiful, and it just, as you're describing it, it really puts you in those thoughts and those feelings, but finding, I guess, the way to marry the two together, that would lead to being most successful.
Like I said, it's a priority thing. I mean, it should be a healthy mind. You have to have a healthy mind. You cannot just be crazy and like just throwing 200 throws every day and don't do anything else. And no, I don't say this. When I say this, people imagine like very crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was crazy, sometimes we did over 100 throws a day, because not because my dad said, because just he was not able to stop us, he just was not.
Okay, so that's cool. So what would that look like? Would he ask you how you were feeling, and if you were, and it depended on you, if you were feeling something that you were trying to work on, you just continue working on that thing, and he would just let you go?
And in our system, there was never a plan, from my coach. It's like my dad was thinking about this different than normal coaches do. He was starting with the athlete to teach him all he knows, to give him so much information he can take. And my dad was talking a lot. He could talk about how much throw, if you can hear this like 12 hours a day, without a problem.
Yeah.
And after a while, when he see that you're ready, he going back. And I mean, when I was 20, I think 21 or 22, my dad didn't know what I did do in training. He didn't know why I do this work, why I do so much throws, what I do in weightlifting. He never, I mean, since I was 22 or something, he don't visit my weightlifting room. You know, he just
So
didn't know.
you had a coach for weightlifting?
No, it was all my it was all my plan, just on the basis what my dad teach me before.
Okay.
And he said it's really important for him to do this with this athlete, at least because it's independence for this athletes. Our athletes in our group think very independent, and they can do a very individual plan for themselves. They can experiment. They can trying to feel the body much better. They can really find something for them, you know. And in our group, nobody trains the same. Nobody. It's like maybe some things are similar, but at the end, every year you understand that this did not work for you, and you don't do this, but it works for him. That's good. Why not?
So this is something like I had never come across a program where everyone did something different until, of course, I was with Dr. B. Now, my question is that something that's more common, like in Europe, or is that idea essentially just as odd or weird? You know what I mean? So like, are there other people outside of like the Soviet system? So, you know, your dad and Dr. B and whoever else, are there other people who will train their athletes, everyone different?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, are there people in, you know, in Germany who do that, or is it just as, you know, weird as it is for us in North America?
I think it's something special. I mean, I didn't see in this way. We did something similar. In Germany, it's like they don't understand these ideas. It's so far away from them.
Yeah.
Because they're really focused on plans, like plan every single step and doing, I don't know. And this, I think this can work too. Sure, why not? We see this.
It can, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But I just I have the opportunity to watch and look how it works here. And you see a guy who have on the plan 15 throws or something, and he take 4 hammers or something, and throw it on the row, you know, and three of these throws from 4 throws are shit.
Yeah.
And he is okay because he did his plan, you know.
Yeah.
He did 15 throws, and he has no. He is not really interesting to do this properly because this whole system is not really controlling these things. Because you who can control this better than you? I mean, this. I don't say that every German guy trained like this. I don't think so. But I mean, I see this a lot in this system. You know about Bondarchuk? The funny thing that I didn't speak a lot with Bondarchuk. I will too. Very, very. I wanted to do this, but I have not the opportunity to do. But the funny thing is about you that my dad was was teaching a lot from Bondarchuk. Like,
Right.
I don't know, maybe 80% of his knowledge is from Bondarchuk. And when I read your something on Facebook or Instagram, when you write something, I like, oh, I think the same, you know. It's
Yeah.
like we have the knowledge from one person, but I never met this person.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and it's really interesting because it because it's not stuff like, oh, throwing like this or like this. It's really philosophy stuff, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Bondarchuk teach my father philosophy, then he teach you this philosophy, you know. And my father teach me philosophy that very similar to
Right.
this. And it's just, for me, it's just interesting because normally I feel very alone with my crazy.
Man, I'm gonna shoot. Try being like you know, an American over here, man. Like I was just telling someone this. Like there was probably 3, 4, 5 years or so where like I already had many of these thoughts and just didn't really tell anyone
Yeah,
because it was like I'm going to be, you know, I don't know,
yeah,
laughed at or whatever. People just seem like, yeah, whatever. But also being like, yeah, but I've thrown far in all of you. So like, who are you to say, right? But
yeah,
um but as I kind of got older, right, and then I'm a dad and I've matured even a little bit more, and I'm like, no, man, because like this is what I think is truth, and not to say that everyone. I'm not saying everyone needs to throw like me. No, absolutely not.
yeah,
I'm not, but there is a, I guess, truth that everyone can feel, right? And that's part of why I think the event is so special because when you find that, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't mean you're going to throw really far, but everyone absolutely can find that feeling, that connection, that truth, that whatever you want to call it, regardless of how far you throw. Um, and I think that's kind of the beauty of like how Dr. B coached. I don't know if that was part of his pedagogy, right? Like doctor of coaching and the philosophy and all the stuff that went with that. I don't know if that was part of like, maybe he just didn't know enough English words, but like a lot of how he taught me and us in that group, like I think allowed for us to find things more intrinsically inside, right? So
yeah,
it took
yeah,
all of those throws, right? So now we talk about the game, like that's essentially what it was when I'm out there
yeah,
throwing as, you know, 10 times a week, right? You can't not stay or be in yourself during those times, especially when the throws are going shit.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
yeah, anyway.
yeah. I understand. And this is it's just for me. For me, it's really important that people discuss. You know, I don't think that our understanding is like something like 100% the truth or something.
Yeah, yeah.
There's I don't think it is, but I just I just know that it works very well. And but how my dad was telling me what why they find some so in the 70s and the 80s so much new stuff and the technique or training stuff. He said because the atmosphere there is so open in the Soviet Union at this time. The whole coaching, the whole training, there was some of the training camps, you know, with all together with a lot of coaches, a lot of athletes, and they have nothing to do after. They every evening they was discussing, discuss, and they was
Okay,
talking and
yeah.
talking and talking, and I think this is what the last years not really doing well in our Hamatrue community. No, I think the last years it was much better, much better. I mean, maybe the last 30 years or something.
Yeah, okay.
But I mean, now you talk like you have so people like Sean Donnelly, or I mean, who are very open, and a lot of open guys now, and it's good. And a lot of them comes from US, and I was saying, like, I don't know, maybe 8 years ago or something, we was talking with my dad, and we was talking about that, and he said to me that, oh, okay, maybe in 10-15 years we have a Hamatrue nation in the US, you know?
Yeah.
Because of this, these things are much more interesting. And I was feeling very alone when I started to talk about my thoughts, and people feel like, oh, why are you telling me this? I have my thoughts, and I don't wanna fight this, you know.
Yeah.
And
it's like challenging, right?
Yeah, but I don't look at this not that way. I think to discuss things are very important, and then I learn from me. I learn from the others, and the others learn, and it's really, this is what I start to do in Germany now. I try to bring this new mentality of talking, you know, and it's really hard now, you know, but it's getting better. It's getting a little bit better.
I think so too. And I think, like, so again, you know, however many years ago, I'll say it occurred to me, no one told me, but based on how the hammer was taught to me by Dr. B, and I guess what my previous knowledge was of it prior to working with him. So everything that I'd learned in North America, and then getting to work with him, it occurred to me, like, just in a flash. And I was like, I think, like, all of this was just like lost in translation. And I think I like said something to you via text not too long ago, and I said this, and I was like, you know, I think it's just lost in translation. I think literally when when these changes in technique were starting to be made, my theory essentially is, like, we lacked the vocabulary, we lacked the words to really, I don't know, kind of describe or encompass what's actually going on. And so we resorted to words like push and counter, you know what I mean? And it's like, no, that doesn't really, that's not
for sure.
Yeah,
I going with you. It's really the last year I was, because, you know, like Sergej said, I was seeing an interview, and he said that when he started to coach somebody in English, he felt like a person that can't translate these all things, because you in Russian you have the whole I don't know, the slang words, you know, that very good formed, very good, and are very understandable for the most of people. And in Germany now I start to find a new language, you know, because this language, what I hear here in Germany, is not working at all. It's all about, I don't know, about knees, about feet, about shoulders, and it's and I realized that this is the most important part, to find good really the words that the people will understand. I don't know, for me it's in English it's a little bit difficult. I was coaching some guys. One from the US came to me in January, and I did very well in English, but I think it's because this guy is feels very good, feels he don't need a lot of words, you know, to
Right.
understand.
Mm-hmm.
But not everybody is like this, you know. Everybody is different, and yeah, you're right. It's really important to find the words, and you're like a English speaking person.
Yeah.
Maybe you can find better words like pushing, but because pushing is the most I think this is the baddest word for
Yeah.
hammer throwing in the last 30 years.
It's I'm telling you, it's the worst thing.
Yeah,
I'm on record right now. We're on a podcast saying push the hammer is the worst thing to ever happen to the hammer. The worst thing.
I think the same. The
Um,
push the hammer. This is what the people doing a lot. They're pushing the hammer. They're like riding on the hammer, and they don't want to release the hammer. Then they don't want to give the hammer his own
freedom.
way, his own life. You know,
Yeah.
they like I say to my athletes, you know, it's like in the relationships. You know, if you're dominating the whole time, the person who lives with you will not able to love you so much. This person will not give you so much vibe to you, love to you, you know. And then it's not a good relationship. It should be.
That is a good
really,
example, though, because I mean, you know, sometimes you might find a relationship where dominating is really fun. Right?
But sometimes,
and you can also do that in the hammer, and you can have some success, but you can't be like that forever.
I don't think. I know it's skilled work, but I always for a really love solution, you know. It's the same in the hammer. I know you can throw very, very bad and very, very far. I know.
Right.
But I don't like this.
But why?
Because I don't see why, because it's not really rational, you know. Not many people can do this because physically it's something very, very difficult. And and for me the static thing is really, really important, because I look at the hammer and I see somebody throwing very, very bad technically. I was always like, something inside me is bleeding always, you know. And I just want to see a free hammer, you know, a free hammer, and really aesthetic movements. But I mean, I think we will get this sometimes, maybe.
I mean, it seems to be better. You know what I mean? Like, just in the first few years, with being in Kamloops. Like, so for instance, when I was training with Judd at Ashland, we were the ones that were, as far as Americans are concerned, we were the ones that were kind of the outliers in terms of how much heavy ball we threw, right? Like, to throw an 18-pound and a 9K at that time, so we're talking early 2000s, early to mid 2000s, it was like, why are you guys doing that? You know what I mean? And we did that. I threw a 10K with Judd 5 times, I think. And I was there for 5 years, 5 or 6 times out of 5 years. And then I go with Bondarchuk, and like 10K is like, it was at that time, it was in every other program, right? Like it was just whatever. But so I get there, and then I start my little blog, and then Martin has his blog and he's making videos, right? And so these things start getting out there, and within 2 or 3 years, everyone in America is throwing heavy ball from 8K to 12K, and you know, and everyone's saying special strength. No one said special strength ever. Until that. And this is all great. I'm not basically I'm trying to say, like, I'm speaking to like things I think are getting better in terms of just general knowledge. Um, and more people I think are experimenting, which if I were to speak for Bondarchuk, like that's all he wants. Like his thing is not do what I do. His thing is not my way is the best way. It's like just experiment for yourself and find out.
Yeah, how um what I hear about him is that he is a big experimenter. He is
Yes.
like every time experimenting, and this is the thing what people do not very much. It's my dad was really upset. I mean, because he is like he loved the sports, and he was saying, why your generation don't invite something new? Like we tried everything. No matter what you want to say, like 10 kilos or I don't know, a short, long, I don't know, 100 throws, 10 throws. They tried everything, but they was rational enough to say, okay, this works not, and then try to explain why. And a lot of guys doing the whole years the same things and getting the same results, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
then you're asking why you're not trying to change, and maybe not the 9k, you know, or 8k, try to getting better with a 5 or 6k, or you know, trying to do, or maybe other way. The people who threw just 6k maybe should try 8k, or you know, it's this the whole this experimental stuff is so important, and I think we shouldn't lose this when we are coaches, because when we say, "Oh, we know how it works," it
That's
it starts.
nonsense.
So yeah, that it means you know nothing, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
and
honestly, like, you know, in saying that, and that's the hard part, right? Because then I mentally, like the mind, once it thinks that it has something, right, then it's essentially just I don't know. That's another form of control. And then you think
yeah,
that you have control over your performance because you have this, you know, um, this outline of what's supposed to work, but
yeah,
then doesn't, then all hell breaks loose, right? And that's the time when you should be more lenient and more adaptable to like how training is going.
yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. But um, I think the things will be much better in the future, because of like of the open-minded people that came from the new generation. Like I mentioned, like you, Martin, like Sean, and a lot of guys. Actually, you know, I was um, in the summer. I was visiting Quentin Bigot
Okay. Yep.
in France for 1 week. And I think in this 1 week, it was in August. It was, I think, like maybe 1 month before the World Champs. And I was visiting him, and in the whole week, we were sleeping like not a lot, because
Talking.
we just talking. We like the whole week we was just talking with his coach, Piaget, and Quentin. And I had a friend. He is a biomechanical
Okay.
guy.
Yep.
He came with me, and we was like, I don't know, it was crazy. But I found so much new things. And the same Quentin, you know, he was like, he said to me that it was very important for him before the World Champs to get this energy stuff. You know, it's like for him, he's um, a guy who's loving this event, you know, not just doing this for money, or like just
Yeah.
for getting this whole And this is what I love, to talk with people who love the sports, and then you can know much more than before.
Right. And I think like, I mean, I'm sure someone exists, but for people to be in this particular discipline this long, they tend to usually be, at least in my experience, fairly open-minded and love the sport, and like, and yeah, some, or maybe most of them ended up having pretty good results or accolades or something, but for the most part, like, it's just, if you ever get to sit down with people like that, like, you're just talking hammer. You find similarities as more and more things get discussed, and what I also think is great is, over the language barrier, it doesn't tend, it's not much of a barrier, I guess.
No.
Yeah.
I don't think so too. It's and the whole thing is like, why you should talk to another people, is that maybe we do similar things, but we imagine this in a different way. We like, I was asking Quentin how he feels the entry. Like, he showed me to tell what he was trying to do there, and this is so different to what I do, but at the end this is the same,
Yeah.
It's like, I just think this, at the end the hammer goes in the same way, everything is quite the same. But I was amazed how easy and to understand his way to think was, compared to mine. My ways was very complex.
Oh, really?
And yeah, and his way the same thing, but really, really easy to understand. And it was just, for me, interesting, and a lot of stuff I picked up from guys who tell me this, because when I talking to hammer throwers, I was trying to ask, what are you feeling there? What are you feeling there?
Yeah.
And it's just interesting, because the whole objective stuff, it's, for me, it's not so interesting. The most interesting stuff is the subjective things.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. This is why we should talk more.
You mentioned, you brought the biomechanical
Yeah.
brand. So like, how do you manage like biomechanical data with either technique or feeling, or how you teach and feel? Like, do you use a lot of that? Do you know what I mean? So I think, I think this is kind of an important question, is at least here in the States, like at the federation level, we use these guys a lot, and they're all nice and well-meaning, and it's a lot of, it's a lot of math and stuff, which is all fascinating. But there's a missing link where they don't understand the event at all. They're just saying, you know what I mean? So like man, this is probably 2004 or 5, and it was right around the first time they were giving the hammer throwers, like, so it was me and AG, direct access to like biomechanical people through US Track and Field. And they told us at release that we should try to bring our shoulders back in the final. 1, 2, 4 throws, pull your shoulders back, and that'll increase your release velocity by X number. I was like, that's impossible. Like, yeah, it might look that way, or the numbers might suggest maybe something is happening there, but like, I can't. That's not a thing. And there's a lot of like, anyway, they've gotten better since then. But it's an interesting dynamic, like hearing all these words and all these numbers. It's something that I love, but it's a matter of like trying to adapt that to actually throwing.
Yeah, thing about biomechanics is that for hammer throwing, biomechanics is for hammer throwing very, very difficult. Much more difficult than for other throwing events. Much more, because the difference between our event and the others is like the implement, the weight is in discus shot, javelin is in your head.
Right.
It's like your body movements are very, very important to increase the speed of this weight of this implement. And in the hammer is far away. It makes much more pressure, much more, like 100 times something, like more. And the whole idea changed here very fast. And as when you be mechanical, you're trying to think the same way, like in javelin and a lot of stuff. And they try to find out. Germans try to find out how the pressure on your feet, when you turn, and some stuff like this, and points and a lot of stuff. And then they try to say to you, they have data, and then they try to understand something and bring you something what you can use. Like they say, and now in Germany we have a conference, and they said you should, on the left side, you should try to get the left side shorter, okay. Because then you increase more speed on the hammer. If you and the good thing about the guy I know, it's Maximilian Becker, he was throwing hammer, he was throwing hammer almost 70 meters, and he studied physics. He is now working as a physician. And normally the whole biomechanical people who do this are not really into physics. They are normally not so educated, and
right.
Yeah, and they don't have this understanding of the event. And when I try always to ask Maximilian when I hear new things from biomechanical stuff like this, that the left side should be shorter. Then he said normally, Sergej, it's very easy. It's just how it works. It's just physical thing. It's not what you should to do. No matter what you do, the left side will be short, and then it will be increase the speed. It's just how it works. It's not about
so he means
this.
Physically, like the left side of the body, or what the ball's doing.
Yeah. No, the ball and the body, the whole stuff. They just found out that the left side is when you're short, when you're getting shorter, that in this time the ball get more speed. But if this is just the problem is just information. This is just information what a throwing coach should try to understand for his own. In my understanding, this says just that the whole speed, the pressure of the left side will be not in a good position. Because if you have a lot of speed and a lot of pressure on a place where you're standing on one leg,
okay,
when you're trying to turn, I think it's not a good idea, because you will have to handle this pressure. If you will be a robot or something, and you could handle this, then maybe it will work very well. Then you can push the whole time, push the whole time. And my dad was always saying about this. He said, he told always that the whole angle and orbit stuff is very important. He said, you're like in the middle, and this all should be balanced, you know? You should be in the middle, because the pressure should be around you, you know? That you can stand very straight, very comfortable, you know? And the hammer is around you. He have his own way. He is not able to do so much pressure to you. And if you try to shorter the left side, you're like doing like this.
Yeah, right.
And then he said, this is the same thing. He said, you can do this, but it's like squat, doing squat. You can do, I don't know, 150, 200 kilos squat or something. But you're doing always in the center of the handle, you know? And you do this and say, oh, I can do this, okay, it's okay. But try to do the same, but go to the left or something. Yeah, maybe you can do this, but you need much more power to doing this. Yeah, and this is the thing about the whole biomechanical stuff, that people try to understand this data and do this wrong, very, very wrong. And what I try to do now with Maxi, and find maybe a better data, what we can maybe better understand, maybe better give better I don't know, this data should be more interesting for because our body is not so important. This is what I believe in this movement. I mean, if you're like in the middle and everything is very balanced, the whole pressure goes to the hammer, you know. And he was always telling us how to move. And Maxi is trying to invite now the whole biomechanical stuff about the angles and the orbit. And he found actually that in his work, he found out that there is when there's a torsion in the orbit, okay. And when this torsion during the throw is bigger, like, then the results will going down. Like, okay. It's like what he said seems in to comparing hundreds of throws. Like, it's but it's just information, you know. We shouldn't see this like very important stuff.
Yeah, and I completely agree. I think my opinion has always been to like just kind of allow it to happen, because my expertise obviously is not in physics and those things. But as I've gotten older, so right now in this moment, how I describe that is, I love biomechanics. I think there is a place for it. And I think it, at this point, is simply information. I don't think that much should be done. How do I think? I don't think that information should be used to dictate what you do in the ring. So like,
this makes sense. Yeah. And I think the same. I was like, in this conference, they like have a really weird stuff there. And then they said like things like, there is a tendency, I don't know, it's a real word in English, tendency? No. When a lot of people doing something. When, I mean, now, before they didn't do this and now they do, like.
Yeah.
Okay, no, yeah, no
Becomes-
matter. They say like today people, the best athletes doing this, this, and this, and we should do this, this, and this. They say, or like look at the Polish athlete, they do like this, and we should then prepare our legs better or something for the technique. Or they try to give us some kind of, I don't know, tip, you know. And I was standing up there and saying, you know, what if the whole after the world championships, the whole top athletes go on the roof and jump? Should we find the angle of the when they fall, you know, the angle and the pressure when they come down, and the whole stuff, you know, because this was just a joke, but I mean that they try to find technical stuff in our like maximal attempts on the world champs from people who maybe not really throwing well, you know.
Yeah.
And they thinking like that it's something new, it's a technical maybe a benefit, and then and German people hear very much, you know. If you talk to the coaches, they say, oh, in this conference they say like this, and you say different. But I say, yeah, but it's like very weird. It's not really rational, you know, to think like this. And they really believe in things biomechanical team is saying, you know. And this is really dangerous. In Germany, there is a big problem with biomechanical stuff, because they believe it like it is the 100% true.
Yeah, like it's
yeah. And then you have people who say that you should be on the entry like very long, and at the end, at the fourth turn, you should be very short, you know, because the biomechanical
and that's
stuff.
probably what our guys were trying to say too.
Yeah. And I was asking this Maximilian, and he was laughing and saying, this is just how it works. It's just like, if you measure this, no matter what you do, it will be like this, because you're like going straight there. And
that's the thing. That's more than like, I think that's true for sure. That's what happens. But
but it's, you shouldn't try to do this more like it is, because there's a different thing about how it is and how you acting, you know. Because you fight against power, you know, against this weight, and you're fighting actually. And the whole position stuff is like, we have in Germany coach, he gave me a 12-year girl to coach, and she was doing some turning, and she did she turns, and then after a turn she do this, like going very down with the knees, and doing like with the arms very high, you know. And I was asking why. The coach said I should do this. I was asking the coach, and he said, yeah, but Sidik did this. You know. And I said, but Sidik when he did this, through 86, he was not a 12 years old girl, you know, who was throwing 30 meters. The pressure was so big, and he was trying to do something different, you know. But it's like, and it's good what he did. It's really good. But for this pressure, it's good. Not for pressure for 30 meters or 20 or 50 or 60. It's always, and this is why. I think this argument is destroying the whole idea of positioning, you know, because the whole positioning stuff, I asked me, when they have a perfect position, for what pressure they have this position? For what? For 70 meters for this guy, or for this guy for 60? I don't know. It's so
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
unrational, I think. It's
Well, and that's how I
and
feel too. Like, um, everybody's different.
yeah,
Everybody's a different um,
yeah,
athlete. Everyone has different qualities, attributes, blah 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 blah. And like that alone is why I think it's just absurd to
yeah.
have one model that a coach tries to coach all their athletes with. It doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? And I forget. So I use the example of Bondarchuk's athletes. I think I think overall 80 meter guys, I want to say maybe 16 or something like that. But a lot of those came like just from the system, right? But I think I was number 7, I want to say, that he took from, almost zero. Right?
Yeah.
And so in my example is like, you take all of those men, not a single one looks the same. Like there is no model.
For me, it looks very similar. I
Looking at the
just,
ball though, looking
you
at
know,
what the ball is
yeah,
doing versus the body.
I remember a comment from Nick Miller who said that you like was the baddest 80 meters thrower we saw.
Yeah, we talked about that.
And this is the difference. What I look to throw, and a lot of people look. This is the difference, because when I look at you or something, or on my dad, or on Sergej, or on Tom,
Yeah, Tim.
I see similar stuff with the hammers going on
Right.
there. With the hammer, there are similar stuff. They Everybody from them is turning very different. But what matters, this does not matter, because when you look at the hammer, and this is what important is, you look at Tom's hammer and see he is sometimes jumping there in the second turn, but you look at the hammer is not affecting it this at all, and it's going so good. No,
And if you
who
teach that
and
to someone else, they throw, 55 meters.
yeah, and this is what I think is not really the most objective thing in our technical system is the hammer orbit, because it's a physical important thing. And the thing with the positions, it's important too, sure, but it's like maybe I don't know 5 floors
It's
down,
down. It's down.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not so interesting, because at the end you throw the hammer, and it's we are not discus throwers or shot putters. This is a big difference.
So you like using myself as an example again. It's I'll get the questions were, and I'm sure you've got them too. Why were you doing this? Or why did you look like this? And the answer is, yeah, sure, but like, what's my ball doing? What's the hammer doing? Um, none of those things that you saw me doing were taught. It wasn't, hey, do that weird thing you do. That looks great. Like, and most of the things I think that someone else, an observer, will see in a thrower, most of the things that observers see, I think the thrower doesn't like. You know what I mean? Like, half the shit that I used to do, I didn't particularly like aesthetically to my eyes. I didn't like it, but like, that's just kind of based on how I'm trying to move the ball, and how like that's kind of being coached or taught to me. That's just what manifested. You know what I mean? Same thing with your dad. Same thing with you. Same thing with Yuri. So an example with Yuri would be, a lot of people in North America would say, well, you got to have that head tilt because that's what Yuri did. And and this is pretty early in my hammer life, I guess. I was probably only 1 or 2 years in. I go to a Yuri clinic, and I hear from his lips, he's like, no, I hated that. I didn't like that at all. Like, and that's something that they would try to do. Dr. B didn't like it. Yuri didn't like it. And we have a whole slew of people in a giant country trying to do that because they see a guy do that just because he threw 86 meters, right? And it's one of those things that like,
Yeah, and so this is so It's not important at all, the things. I mean, I had a lot of technical problems when I was throwing with my first turn, I was coming very, very wide with my right leg some day. And I just understand that if I can react afterwards, it's not matter at all. But if you want to throw farther, you should change something. But but it's always a question like of priorities. And I was asking my dad about some people are when they come with the right leg comes with not on the heel,
Okay.
And I was asking, is it matter? And he said, if you can react on the hammer afterwards, you can do what you want. You can do a salto between the turn if you don't if you can react on the hammer. And this is what I thought is really important to understand, that you shouldn't be so concentrated on this little stuff that are not really affects the hammer. If it's affect your hammer movement, then it's important. Sometimes it's like this, like that your body should move other way, but normally not normally.
Yeah, for sure. So I've got a question. Like, they're again coming up. When I was younger and first kind of being introduced to hammer, and in the Soviets, of course, and there are a lot of stories and urban legends, like and
a lot of them,
about like what the Soviets did, and I would say versus like what they actually did, and then going with Bondarchuk afterwards. Like, I'd go so far as to say that not a single one that I heard prior to working with him was true. There might be one or two, but I'm telling you, like, every single thing I heard was, and I would remember something, and then you know what I mean, and be at training and be like, hey, Dr. B, like, was this true? And he'd be like, no. You know what I mean? Like, I think one I can remember right now, I heard Yuri could wind and release 60 meters, or 2 winds and release or something 60 meters. And I say, hey, Dr. B, like, is this true? He's like, no. So I don't know. So like, are there?
Why you should do this? I was talking to this to Yuri last year.
Yeah.
And he said the whole legends, the people try to create this legend because they want to think that these people are superheroes.
Yes.
Yeah, like they're talented, like nobody could do this, like they're so strong and like this, but normally the truth is they are normal. Like,
yes, they're just perfect. This is perfect. That's a perfect answer, man, because that's Anyway, go on.
This is very important to understand. Everybody is normal. I remember Koji when he was 18. He was living in our apartment in Rostov in Russia for I don't know, 3 months or something, and he was looking like he was not talented at all. He was a guy very skinny. He was not throwing very much, very long, and technically he was not that good, and a lot of stuff. But if you look at him when he wins the Olympics, you think, oh, this is he is so perfect. It's like he is born like this. It's not. And people, I don't know, they love fairy tales. I have one legend. The last I believed in was that Sergej was doing 100 kilogram with the plates. This. Yeah. But I was asking him, and he said, "No way."
See, that's funny. So that was going to be like the second part of my my question was like, is there anything that like you've heard of
You know, I think in our group there is a lot of things that people will think, "What the fuck?" You know, no way, and do this like legends. But I mean, I think this is the most of them things are very easy to rebuild for other. You
Yeah.
know, yeah, it's there's no special things. The most special things of these guys that I knew, like my dad and a lot of others, this is the difference between them and the others is a mentally thing. These are crazy mentally. They were really rational thinking, I think. Then they was really into this. My father was so much into this that he could speak just about this. He was so crazy. Sometimes you ask him, "Dad, we need to go to shopping center," and he will answer you, you know, when you're going to the entry, you should do this and this. You know, sometimes he answer like this, and this is not a joke. It's like it was like this sometimes. When he was into this, he can talk about different things, and this is the difference. Here, maybe in this way, they are superheroes or something, but I think you can train this also. It's not, it's not something that you're like not able to do.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe we can wrap up here just a little bit, but let me. I think. All right, so we've spoken about your father a few times. The loss of him certainly was, again, felt all over the world, right? If you could like kind of speak for him now, like what do you think what do you think he wanted to leave the world? Like what gift or what, what would he kind of share?
I think he will share this whole, maybe the whole philosophy thing that amateur should look very aesthetically.
Mm-hmm.
That this is important than the whole physical stuff and the whole result stuff people love so much when they're throwing far. But he said this not just because it's like his, I don't know, crazy idea or something. This will develop our sports, technique things. The physical parts is developed without us, without amateurs. You know, it's just developed with the knowledge is getting better. It's nothing what we did, you know.
You mean like weight room? Kind of.
Yeah, the whole there is a lot of new knowledge and about our body,
right?
But what we can do to develop our discipline is to getting better technically. And I think to him it was the most important thing. And he was like, when somebody wanna come to him and train in our group, he never said no. You know, there were people who throw 60 meters came to us, and he was coaching him like we was like as on the side, and he was coaching a boy who throws 60 meters like 24/7, you know, just because for this is important, these things, to understand that we should develop on our event and not just, I don't know, one world champs, this guy wins, then this guy wins, and it's and always is the same. The last 20 years or 30 years, this comes nothing new. We didn't find something interesting in technique. It's getting worse, and it's, for me it's sad, and for my dad it was really sad, you know?
What do you think that disconnect was? Like, why were things getting worse?
Because of this philosophy thing. The people choose the most easy philosophy for them, that you look at the hammer throw like more like a normal event, like where you can do something, I don't know, 300 kilo squat
Yeah,
or something like this, and throwing heavy balls, and like very easy thinking philosophy that helps you out sometimes to get very fast to some goals. And this is why people love this philosophy so much, because it's very fast. With It's a philosophy where you not have to think a lot, you know.
yes.
Yeah, you
It's
don't not
easy. It's
have to feel a lot.
right.
There is a lot of objective things there, and they love the subjective things. They don't love the subjective things because they can't control, and they want to go to this new world where you don't know what can happen, you know.
Exactly. The difference between what you can
Yeah,
control and what you can't, or what you can see, what you can't see,
yeah,
separates, well, really anyone.
yeah,
It's very
yeah.
to
And
them.
this is sad because actually an athlete or a professional coach should think different way. I think a lot of disciplines think different, like we do now. Because when you look at the 100 meters or thing or other disciplines, I cannot imagine that they're like, I will choose this easy thinking way. You know,
Yeah.
they have too much concurrence for acting like this. You know, too much concurrence, too much people who are so good, and when they think like this, they're like running 10 seconds or something, and this is good, but this is nothing in top sports at the Olympics or something. And this is sad in our discipline, that you can come to 82, 83, or maybe 84 without really technically good, not technically good prepared, but like we see, it happens very, very not often, you know, not often.
Yeah. And now, and honestly, like that's part of my theory of, you know, if I'm being dramatic, the worst thing to ever happen to hammer throw. So earlier I mentioned, you know, push, the term push that spread like wildfire. But also I think I think just drugs and lifting in general. But
Yeah,
I think here's what I think. I think the Soviets were better than everyone else for however long it was, for a while, I guess, right? And to make up for that, people turned to drugs and or just training. I'm not saying everyone was on drugs, but like they turned
yeah,
to the weight room to narrow that gap. But what was, again, in my opinion, good about that Soviet system was, yes, there were some drugs, but that wasn't what made it special, right? Like there were some drugs
yeah,
then in a time when a lot of people were doing it right, and they were still
yeah,
at 6 to 10 meters. So that being said, for me, that's not a drug thing. That's more of what's going on here
yeah,
philosophically. Now, right. So like trying to bridge that gap, people were choosing what was easier, and that was to try to get stronger.
yeah.
And from
But
that
this is
point on, like,
this. Yeah, I understand. This is the same idea of the different philosophy, like easy philosophy and harder philosophy. And the drug thing, my dad was telling that in Soviet Union it was, everything was different. I mean, everybody was different. There was not a line, you know, or something.
right.
But there was some ideas, and one of them was Bondarchuk, who was saying that people who have medicine mindset, he was saying, like, this is people who think that how much I should taking drugs to throw that far or something like this. Or what drug I have to find and something. And he said these people thinking about this so much that they cannot be very good in medical in the training system knowledge,
Yeah.
because their interest is other way,
Right.
And he was thinking what my dad was saying, that these people will lose, well, because this whole drug stuff will end,
Yeah.
and they will lose. And this is what I think that people in our sports don't understand, that this is a good opportunity for you guys to throwing far without drugs. Like,
Yeah.
It's a good way. Just pick it up,
Yeah.
Just pick it up, because these things what they developed. I don't say Bondarchuk, my dad, take this. No, it's a good way to train, but develop something new. It's no problem, but develop. You have to develop and go.
It takes more time, but
Yeah,
I think like you can still, there's development for sure.
yeah, and your priorities should be more on the technique. This is what important. Because if you don't take drugs, if you're like not very strong, like a monster, your only way to throw far is technique. And our discipline is very, very important, very possible to throw without a lot of power, throw far. And I think there's not many people believe in this. Not many people. I think maybe less than 5% of people believe this.
Yeah.
Because when I talk with some guys and they say, how much do you squat? And when I was throwing 80, I was not doing never more than 160 kilo squat. Yeah. And they say, what? This is impossible. This is because there are studies, and they try to tell you that this is not possible. And and you like,
that's about the same for me, actually. Like, I don't think I squatted more than I'll say 162 just to match you, but it was always like within just short little range, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but because you don't need to. It's not I can squat more, and I did sometimes afterwards, but it makes not a big difference,
Yeah, for training.
And the thing is the people think that you should do this. A lot of people think I should go at first to 200 something squat, and then I will think about technique and a lot of stuff, because this is my basics, and I think that the basics is really easy to get. Really easy. The basics in hammer throw are very, very easy. You have time for this and use this time. And how long it takes to get to something like 116 squat for a man, it's nothing.
Yeah.
I don't say this it's for everybody, it's like enough, maybe not, but I know for me that my power that I had, I don't use this very properly. I understand that I could throw much farther with this, much more. I think when I was technically better, when I was maybe mentally better, I could throw over 83 or something.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure of that. And I'm not so talented. This is why when people ask me, "Oh, without drugs, it's not possible to throw that far," and I believe we can throw 86 without drugs very far. I mean, people think that this world records will hold forever. I don't think so.
I gotta say, I do too, though. I mean,
Yeah,
I know personally before before my throwing kind of changed and did whatever, and I had to adapt to it. Like, I was perfect in how I converted my 9 kilo to my 7 kilo in competition. So the year I threw 80, my 9 kilo at the end of the season was like 67.85, something like that for personal best. And this is 11. And then going into 2012 in March, February, March, April, somewhere in that time, I threw 70. I threw over 70 a couple times with the 9K. And so I'm like, this is great. I moved to work with Bondarchuk to win an Olympic medal. I'm like, I'm going to win an Olympic medal. I'm throwing 75, 76 with the 7 on a daily basis, which again, even the year when I threw 80, I wasn't doing. And I always come up in competition versus years prior. All of my best throws ever of my life were in practice. And then in competition at the end of the season, I would be, 4 or 5 meters down. And that completely flip-flopped when I changed my training.
yeah,
It's one of those things. And so, and I look at that and I'm like, so if I know from my training and knowing my body after all those throws that I was capable of 83 meters, I wasn't that special. It didn't particularly look all that awesome to the, whatever kind of people. I know there are better athletes out there than I was. And if I think I can throw 83 clean, like there's got to be, you know what I mean? Like, anyway, I absolutely firmly believe after all of these years and after all that training, like it's possible, but it's going to take some mindset changes.
yeah, sure. It should be a very good athlete and a very good mixed up training with, I don't know, new knowledge and a lot of stuff. But for sure, I don't think it's something impossible because, I mean, yeah, like I said, my 80, almost 81 is nothing.
Yeah.
Although for me, it's nothing. I understand that I didn't do my maximum. I have to do much more. And when I compare to my dad, I know how my dad was training. I wasn't so crazy. Never. And I mean, when you maybe have some crazy guy like my dad and maybe physically a little bit better and maybe technically better, because you can be better than my dad,
Yeah.
it's not something. And then you should throw far, maybe over 86, 7, maybe near to 90. Why not? Yeah. I mean, I think the people are demoralized, they're not, they're like thinking, oh my God, this world record is so big, and this is why I like Fidek, when you talk to Fidek and he have no limits in his mind at all. Yeah, he have no limits. He is like, I will. I remember at the Universal Games he won, and we was in a press conference, and somebody said, "Yeah, there's world record 86. What do you think? It's not possible without drugs." And he was like, "What? I will do." Yeah, and I was thinking, good.
Yeah.
Good that you think like this, because it's like, why not?
Everything. It would change everything.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get him on the podcast, man. He's like, no, I don't think my English is too good. I'm like, dude, like, you're fine.
I think he's speaking good. And
I think he does.
I think he don't speak a lot, about hammer throw. We should to make him speak, because he's an interesting guy. We should
He's an interesting
know.
guy, and
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, he talks about it, I guess, right? Because you have your preconceived, like before we were like friends. It's like you kind of just looking at him, right? He's big and
yeah,
he's strong, and the dude talks about it like this conversation here.
yeah.
And so
Hey,
it's
I mean more than just here. I mean the
yeah,
like outside, you know,
yeah,
because you hear things like, "Oh, you guys train too much,"
yeah,
from him in the
yeah,
comments, and you're like, "I want to know more." You know, it's no information. I just want to know uh, your thoughts about this. It's so
I was gonna say your mind. I want to know more about your mind.
yeah, it's interesting. It's because it makes no it will brings new thoughts, because I think he is a special guy. He's maybe technically not the best or something, in my opinion, but he he should do a lot of right things, you know, if you see how far it goes and how long it holds, you know.
Right.
Yeah,
All right, man. Well, I mean, we could probably talk hammer for 1,000 years. But so let's wrap here. Is there anything like you want to say? Like you now you're starting to be more active on social media, so I'll make sure to tag you when I end
yeah.
up doing this. But anything you want to say to close it out?
Yeah, I just wanna say to everybody that you should subscribe to my Instagram channel, Litvinov Crew. This is a channel where I, as a coach, will bring some videos, and maybe later I will make some more informative stuff and something like this. And maybe we can learn from each other, and you should work for us, for all of us.
Yeah, love it. And maybe we should do one of these maybe semi regularly, right? Like just like kind of closing the gap on the world and talking about some hammer.
Wait. Okay.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yes. Sure.
No, that's all
Yeah.
right. Sergey, thank you, man. I really do appreciate it. This was great. Not seeing you for a while, and it's like we just kind of left off. So,
Yeah.
appreciate having you on the podcast, and good luck with your training group, and good luck with quarantine.
Yeah.
uh,
Thanks.
hopefully, we get through this, man.
Yeah. Thanks for inviting me.
You're welcome, man. All right,
Yeah.
take care, and we'll talk soon.
Okay. Bye
All right.
bye.
Yeah, see you, man.